A well-designed city isn't the one that looks best on a postcard, but the one that gets going smoothly every morning. It's an invisible choreography between infrastructure and behavior, between history and ambition, between what we measure and what we feel when we walk the streets. If we lift the map and look at it calmly, we discover that the best-designed cities don't share a single template. They share an ethic. The ethic of time well spent. The ethic of reduced friction. The ethic of beauty that doesn't distract but guides. Let's begin with a metropolis where that ethic has become the norm. 1. Tokyo, efficiency and collective culture. 37 million people. It's a number that should collapse any system, but Tokyo works. And not only does it work, it breathes with almost surgical precision. The key isn't technology. Although it has plenty, it lies in something deeper, in the mentality that sustains every cog in the city's machine. Tokyo is the result of a cultural obsession with collective order, where the individual understands that their well-being depends on the functioning of the whole. Public transportation is the heart of this living machine. Dozens of train and subway lines operated by private companies compete to be the most punctual, the cleanest, the most efficient. The trains arrive with almost absurd precision. Delays of 30 seconds warrant a public apology. But this isn't just infrastructure, it's shared discipline. Passengers are quiet, respect queues, and give way. It's not fear, it's a social contract. Shinjuku Station, the busiest on the planet, is a universe unto itself. Offices, shops, restaurants, all integrated into a vertical labyrinth where you can live, work, and consume without ever leaving the surface. This fusion of life and movement is what allows millions of people to coexist without chaos. Tokyo proves that extreme density is not the enemy of quality of life. On the contrary, when everyone can reach their destination without losing time or sanity, the city transforms into a functional organism. It's not utopia, it's a rigorously applied design supported by a culture that understands that mutual respect is not optional, it's fundamental. 2. Singapore, planning and nature. Singapore is the answer to an uncomfortable question. What happens when you have no space, no natural resources, and no margin for error? The answer is to plan every square meter as if it were the last. Since its independence in 1965, this city-state has operated under one unyielding premise. Always think 50 years ahead. There is no room for improvisation when your territory is a tiny island surrounded by larger neighbors. The Housing and Development Board, the public housing agency, is the mastermind behind this strategy. More than 80% of the population lives in state-run apartments, but these aren't forgotten gray blocks on the outskirts of town. They are mixed-income communities with schools, clinics, markets, and parks just a few minutes walk away. The mix of income levels is intentional, to avoid ghettos, to foster cohesion. It's social engineering disguised as urban planning, and it works. But Singapore isn't just about stacking houses. Its green compensation policy requires developers to replace any removed vegetation with vertical gardens, green roofs, and suspended parks. The result is skyscrapers that breathe, facades that resemble cascades of ferns. Gardens by the Bay, with its 50-meter-tall super trees, isn't just decoration, it's a manifesto. Nature is non-negotiable, even in the most expensive space in Southeast Asia. And then there's the water. Marina Bay Barrage transformed a saltwater bay into a freshwater reservoir, ensuring the nation's water supply. At the same time, it created a new urban leisure space. This is the essence of Singapore, solving vital problems while building quality of life. There's no romanticism here, just pragmatism elevated to science. 3. Copenhagen, pure habitability. Copenhagen was built with a single question in mind. Does this improve people's lives? Every decision, every investment, every meter of sidewalk is subjected to that filter. It's not rhetoric, it's state policy. The result is a city that feels less like an urban machine and more like a collective home, where everything is designed to make life easier, kinder, more human. The streets belong to people, not cars. Strøget, one of Europe's longest shopping streets, has been entirely pedestrianized since the 1960s. But the true symbol is the harbor, right in the heart of the city. Public swimming pools where you can swim surrounded by historic architecture. That's not just aesthetic boldness. It's confidence in the environment, in the cleanliness of the water, in the fact that the city is yours to enjoy. Danish design is based on simplicity and trust. Public spaces are designed for encounters, squares with comfortable benches, parks that invite you to linger, not just pass through. There's a spatial generosity rarely seen in European capitals, and then there's the bicycle. More than 60% of the population gets around on two wheels. This isn't just militant environmentalism, it simply makes sense. The cycling infrastructure is so comprehensive that cycling is faster, cheaper, and more practical than driving. Copenhagen doesn't try to impress with skyscrapers or mega projects. Its greatness lies in the everyday, in being able to go to work without stress, in having the sea 5 minutes away, in feeling that the city is designed with you at its center, not against you. 4. Madrid. Public space and urban life. Madrid has waged a silent war against the car, and it's winning. For decades, like so many 20th century cities, it surrendered its space to engines, wide avenues, urban highways, squares transformed into roundabouts. But something changed. The city decided that asphalt wasn't its destiny and began to reclaim what was rightfully its own. The streets, the squares, the riverbanks. Madrid-Rio is the most striking example. Where an elevated highway once roared, bisecting the city, today a 10-kilometer linear park stretches out. Sports areas, gardens, fountains, and tree-lined promenades. They buried the traffic underground and returned the river to the people of Madrid. It wasn't cosmetic, it was a radical transformation. Neighborhoods that had turned their backs on the Manzanares River were reconciled with the water. Thousands of people recovered a piece of the city they thought they had lost. But Madrid-Rio is not an isolated case. The pedestrianization of Gran Via, the expansion of low-emission zones, the transformation of plazas into urban living rooms where people sit, chat, and live. Plaza Mayor, Puerta del Sol, Lavapiés, these are not monuments. They are everyday spaces, vibrant areas that breathe life at any time of day. And behind it all, a metro system that runs like clockwork. Clean, fast, and extensive. With over 300 kilometers of network, owning a car in Madrid is not a necessity, it's a burden. The message is clear. Cities are not for passing through, they are for living in. Madrid has understood that public space is not just what's left over between buildings. It's the soul of the city. If you're interested in seeing the world through different eyes, subscribe and activate the bell, because in the second half of this journey, we will travel even further. From Korea that tears down highways to Holland that floats on water. We continue. 5. Seoul. Technology and renaturalization. Seoul could be the cliché of the hyper-connected city, overflowing with screens and algorithms. And it is, but with a crucial difference. Technology here isn't for show, it's for service. Free Wi-Fi on the subway, apps that tell you when the bus is arriving in real time, a single card that pays for transportation, taxis, and shops. It's not the dystopian future of Black Mirror. It's the functional present of 11 million people who don't want to waste time. But what's truly remarkable about Seoul isn't its screens, but its capacity for self-correction. For decades, the Cheonggyecheon stream lay buried beneath an elevated concrete highway, a symbol of Korea's 1970s development boom. In 2003, the city made a radical decision to demolish the highway and bring the stream back to the surface. 11 kilometers of water, vegetation, and pedestrian walkways in the heart of the city. It was an act of political courage. Many predicted traffic chaos. It didn't happen. People found other routes, other ways to get around. And Seoul gained a green lung that reduces summer temperatures, attracts biodiversity, and has become the capital's most beloved public space. This is the paradox of Seoul. One of the world's most technologically advanced cities chose to renature itself. It sees no contradiction between innovation and nature. On the contrary, it understands that smart cities are not those that accumulate sensors, but those that improve life. And sometimes that means planting trees, not cables. 6. Amsterdam. Human mobility. Amsterdam has more bicycles than inhabitants. That statistic sums up an entire philosophy. This isn't a city that added bike lanes as a concession. It's a city built around the bicycle as the backbone of mobility. The streets are narrow, the traffic is calm, and every corner has parking for hundreds of bikes. Here, the car is the unwelcome guest, not the king. But this priority is not accidental. Amsterdam is built on marshland. Its soil is fragile, its canals essential. For centuries, the Dutch perfected the art of water management. The canals aren't just tourist postcards. They are hydraulic infrastructure that prevents the city from sinking. And that same pragmatic logic was applied to mobility. In a flat territory with short distances, the bicycle isn't just an ecological option, it's the optimal mode of transport. The result is a city on a human scale. The streets invite you to cycle, to walk, to stop. There's no aggressive rush or constant honking. There's a different, more leisurely rhythm. And that's not nostalgia, it's intentional design. Amsterdam demonstrates that slowing down isn't going backward, it's reclaiming control over your own time. 7. Curitiba. Sustainable innovation without resources. Curitiba is proof that good urban design doesn't need unlimited budgets. In the 1970s, this Brazilian city faced the same problems as any growing metropolis: congestion, pollution, and uncontrolled sprawl. But instead of copying expensive European models, it invented its own, and they worked. Bus Rapid Transit, the system of articulated buses with dedicated lanes and subway-like stations, was born here. It's efficient mass transit without the cost of an underground subway. Buses arrive every 90 seconds, stations allow for level boarding, and the system moves 2 million passengers a day. Cities around the world have copied the model: Bogota, Mexico City, Istanbul. Curitiba demonstrated that innovation lies not in the equipment, but in the concept. But Curitiba's ingenuity goes beyond transportation. The city invested in parks as drainage infrastructure. Instead of channeling rivers with concrete, it created green spaces that absorb rainwater. The result: fewer floods, more public spaces. It's a multifaceted solution with a single resource. Jaime Lerner, the architect-mayor who spearheaded this transformation, had a guiding principle: if you want creativity, cut the budget. Curitiba is the city that turned scarcity into a laboratory, and it remains a global benchmark. 8. Melbourne: habitability and micro-urbanism. Melbourne doesn't shout. It doesn't have the grandeur of Paris or the density of Tokyo. Its greatness lies in the details, in its ability to make every neighborhood, every street, every corner work for its inhabitants. It's a city that understands that quality of life is measured in small, everyday comforts, not grand gestures. Melbourne's city center was dead for decades. Offices emptying by 6 p.m., streets deserted on weekends. In the 1990s, the city adopted a simple yet revolutionary strategy: converting office buildings into housing, attracting permanent residents, and filling the ground floors with cafes and shops. Today, the CBD is one of the most vibrant urban centers in the Southern Hemisphere. People live there, they don't just work. But Melbourne is also known for its tram network, the most extensive in the world. They're not just tourist attractions, they're everyday transportation, free in the city center and integrated with trains and buses. And then there are the laneways, those narrow alleyways that in other cities would be forgotten backstreets. But here are cultural hubs: street art galleries, hidden bars, tiny restaurants with lines out the door. Melbourne has won the title of the world's most livable city several times. This isn't just marketing. It's the result of decades of striving for balance: density without feeling overwhelmed, culture without elitism, and transportation without chaos. It's urban planning that goes unnoticed. And that's precisely why it works. Ultimately, all these cities share something essential. They understood that urban design is not a technical matter, but a political and cultural decision. Tokyo chose collective order. Singapore, radical planning. Copenhagen, human scale. Madrid, public space. Seoul, courageous correctness. Amsterdam, the bicycle as a right. Curitiba, unpretentious creativity. Melbourne, everyday detail. There's no magic formula. Each city built its own answer based on its history, geography, and unique character. But they all share one principle: they put people at the center. And that, in the end, is the only thing that distinguishes a well-designed city from a mere jumble of buildings. If you enjoyed this trip, subscribe and don't miss part 2, which arrives coming soon with 8 equally well-designed cities and new lessons to take back to your neighborhood.